All right, picture this for a second. You are a bank manager. You're sitting at this big mahogany desk, and you're just staring at a massive vault of money. Literally, your entire job boils down to one fundamental choice. Do you make safe, super reliable bets with that cash, or do you take wild, risky gambles hoping for a massive payout? It's a pretty stressful position, right? Well, today, in this explainer, we are going to look at the exact mathematical cheat code that professionals use to make that very decision. We're going to decode what's called the Sharpe Index to help you measure your true financial bang for the buck. So, here is our roadmap for today. First, the risk and reward dilemma. Second, building a loan portfolio. Third, calculating your expected return. Fourth, standard deviation and risk. And finally, number 5, the Sharpe Index revealed. Let's get right into it. Section 1. The risk and reward dilemma. Balancing safe bets and risky choices. Think about the absolute massive global financial players out there. Institutions like Citibank or HSBC. They have to make incredibly smart, high-stakes lending decisions every single day. They absolutely aren't just guessing. They are carefully, meticulously weighing every single dollar they send out the door. Because, banks have a pretty wild menu to choose from when they lend out cash. They can issue standard home mortgages, auto loans, personal loans, or even high-interest payday loans and cash advances. And the thing is, each of these options comes with a completely different personality, so to speak. Some are like lending money to a reliable best friend, while others are, kind of like handing cash to a complete stranger at a casino. So the crucial point here is understanding the divide between safe loans and risky ones. Let me ask you point blank. Would you rather hand over your own hard-earned cash to a totally stable homeowner whose house acts as a guarantee, or to a really risky cash advance borrower who might literally vanish tomorrow? The safe loan gives you absolute peace of mind, but lower profits. The risky loan? It might pay you a massive interest rate, but it's for sure going to keep you awake at night. Which brings us to Section 2, building a loan portfolio, mixing and matching your loans. You see, banks never just make one type of loan. That would be like putting all your eggs in one very fragile basket. Instead, they build a portfolio. That's really just a fancy finance word for a basket of different investments designed to balance things out. In the real world, it's all about finding the perfect recipe. A bank might put 55% of the money into super safe stuff like mortgages. Then they take 35% and allocate it to a riskier category, hoping to juice those returns. And finally, that remaining 10% goes into a third, moderate loan type. Section 3, calculating your expected return, figuring out the profit. But how do we know if this recipe actually tastes good? First up, we've got to define our target, which is the expected return. In math speak, we just call it RP. This is simply the anticipated average profit from our entire basket of loans. Think of it like the target paycheck you hope to take home at the end of the year. It's the exact number the bank manager confidently reports to the board of directors when they ask, "So how much money are we going to make?" To actually find RP, let's map out our basket. We just match our portfolio weights, our slices of the pie, to their respective returns. So that 10% slice, that earns a 7% return. The big, safe 55% slice earns a really modest 5%. And that aggressive 35% slice we talked about, it's pulling in a whopping 12% return. Now, for a little bit of straightforward financial plumbing, you literally just multiply the size of the slice by its profit. You take 0.1 times 7%, add it to 0.35 times 12%, and then add that to 0.55 times 5%. By adding up those distinct loan slices, we are seamlessly blending them together to find the overall performance of the whole basket. And boom, there's our result. Our meticulously crafted basket of loans generates an expected return of 6.95%. Honestly, not too shabby. We've solved the first piece of the puzzle. The bank manager now knows that for every $100 lent out across this specific mix, they can expect to make a blended average of just under $7 in pure profit. Section 4, standard deviation and risk, measuring the bumpy ride. So profit is great, but it's really only half the story. We have our expected profit, but we desperately need to quantify the stress level of actually getting those returns. But before we measure the stress, we need to know what a totally stress-free life actually looks like, right? We call this the risk-free rate, or RF. This is your baseline. It's the return you could get with absolutely zero risk, like just sticking your money in government bonds. Let's say this risk-free rate is 2%. That means you could make 2% in your sleep without ever worrying about a single borrower defaulting.
Now, if you want to make more than that sleepy 2%, you have to take on risk. In finance, we measure that risk with standard deviation, which is represented by the Greek letter sigma. Think of it this way. If your expected return is how fast your car is driving, standard deviation is how incredibly bumpy the road is. It tells us how wildly our portfolio's actual return might swing away from our expected return. So for our next example, we are going to assign our portfolio a standard deviation, or a risk level, of 5%.
And that brings us to the main event. Section 5, the Sharpe Index revealed, the ultimate cheat code. We know our profit, we know our risk, and we know our baseline. Now, we use the Sharpe Index to combine all of that into one single incredibly powerful score. Let's step through the logic with a fresh example. Imagine a new portfolio with an expected return of 8%. Step 1. Subtract our risk-free rate of 2% from that 8%. Why? Because we only care about the extra profit we are making for taking on risk. Then, step 2. Divide that extra profit by our standard deviation, our risk level, of 5%. So, setting up the math, our Sharpe Index equals 8 minus 2 divided by 5. In plain English, we are calculating exactly how much extra return we get for every single unit of stress we are enduring. And the results? It's 1.2. Now, this single number is massive. It's basically telling the bank manager exactly how smart their choices actually are. A positive Sharpe Index, especially anything over 1, means the risk you are taking is actually paying off efficiently. Think of it like miles per gallon, but for your investments. Because ultimately, the Sharpe Index perfectly answers the ultimate question: is the extra money I'm making actually worth the extra stress of a risky loan? It strips away all the complex, intimidating layers of finance and just gives you your precise, undeniable bang for your buck. So, I'm going to leave you with this to chew on as you wrap up our explainer today. We've seen how massive institutions use this exact math to balance billions of dollars. But risk and reward govern all of our lives, not just the big banks. How could measuring your own bang for your buck, evaluating the extra stress of a new job, a new investment, or even a major purchase against the true extra reward, change the way you make personal financial decisions today? Keep that in mind next time you're weighing your own safe bets against your risky gambles.